Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me now is Forbes staff writer Zach Everson. Zach, thanks for coming on.
Hey, Brittany, good to see you.
Good to see you. As of right now, we are still awaiting a potential indictment for former President Donald Trump. So, before we get into all of the additional investigations and lawsuits that are looming over him, what are the charges he could face this week?
The issue seems to be stemming from, and I mean, this is largely coming from other news reports. The Manhattan DA's office has been pretty quiet on this publicly, but it stems from the hush payments that Michael Cohen made on behalf of Donald Trump to Stephanie Clifford, better known as Stormy Daniel, at the towards the waning days of the 2016 campaign. Now, hush money payments, this is good to know if you live in the state of New York, but hush money payments in New York are not illegal. What the issues here are is that it would allegations of improper bookkeeping for the way that the Trump organization recorded those transactions. Now, that's just a misdemeanor. What reportedly will elevate this to a felony was that it could also be considered campaign finance fraud because this was not reported. I mean, this was money that was spent on behalf of Trump as a candidate, and it was not recorded either as an expenditure of the campaign or as a contribution. What really makes this tricky, though, is that that is a federal offense, and this we're obviously talking about state court. And so what the New York prosecutors are going to have to do is they're going to have to show that it is okay to elevate this misdemeanor to a felony. It is okay that the allegation involves something that happened on a federal level and not a state level.
Thanks for the breakdown, Zach. But Stormy Daniels is a name we have heard now for years. The hush money payments were made in 2016. And even just a few years ago, Michael Cohen went to prison for charges related to Stormy Daniels. So why is Trump potentially getting in trouble for these now?
An excellent question. Some of what we know is that the feds looked into it and decided not to do anything with it. So that took a little bit longer. I think the Manhattan DA's office kind of put it on the back burner until the feds made their move. It was also, there's Justice Department memo out there that you can't prosecute a sitting president. So nothing would really happen with this while Trump was still in office. So that really, set us back right until January of 2021 when he left office for an investigation to really, start picking up there.
Got it. And Republicans have charged that this is politically motivated. They have hit Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg. Is there any truth to those allegations?
He is a Democrat. I can't remember if he campaigned or not on if he was going to investigate Trump. I know that the New York Attorney General, Letitia James, did say, when she was campaigning. But the Manhattan DA's office has a history of investigating people of all parties. Like I really don't think that's the case here. I suspect the Republicans in Congress and Trump supporters would say anything that puts Trump in less than angelic lighting is emblematic of Democratic bias.
And Zach, now I would love for you to paint us a broader picture. You've been tracking all the lawsuits, the investigations, things of that nature that have surrounded Trump for years. At one point, your list hit well over 30. So how many are currently hanging over his head?
It's probably going to be somewhere over 40 since I last updated the list, and I'm in the process of doing it now. Since I last updated it, some of the cases have been settled, some have closed. In a few instances, most notably with the January 6th committee, that one dissolved. The House changing hands certainly changed a lot of the investigations that were going on there. January 6th dissolved. The Oversight Committee was looking into foreign gifts, document handling, conflicts of interest. And, you're seeing the minority, Jamie Raskin specifically from Maryland, is still putting out some documents on those issues. But the committee overall isn't even looking at it. And, one of them has just gotten so ridiculous that it was the committee was trying to get documents about the Trump Hotel's lease. And it went to court. And GSA was which oversaw the lease, was refusing to turn over the documents. So it started off with Democrats on the House committee suing a part of the Trump administration to get documents about the Trump Hotel. Well, now what you've still got the House committee's lawsuit is going on, and the Supreme Court is reportedly deciding whether or not it's going to hear this. But the parties have changed, so you still have the House committee, but it's no longer overseen by Democrats; it's overseen by Republicans. And head of the GSA now is the Biden administration, not Trump. And the Trump Hotel has been closed. It has been a Waldorf now since last June. So you've got all of the parties have changed, but this case is still going up through the Supreme Court.
Zach, if you look at your list of all of these lawsuits, your tracker, it's divided in a few categories here. We have business filings, the 2020 election, January 6th, and personal disputes. Where does this potential indictment land on that list? And is this the worst lawsuit that's hanging over him or charge?
This would be a business one, based on, it seems like the allegations stem from how they recorded it in their documents there. It's the most serious one in that it's the one that seems closest to lead to a criminal indictment. The other ones haven't yet, so that does make it more serious. But to me, I stand by this. We've talked about this before. I think the handling of foreign government government documents that strikes me as is the most severe of all of these issues.
Then why aren't we talking about that now? Why are we talking about something that we've known that's happened 7 years ago? Is that because that this current Stormy Daniels hush money payment one is one that could be the easiest slam dunk?
No, it's just the one that's that's about to move. We still are seeing some movement with the document handling. Now, the House Oversight Committee, once it changed to Republican control, dropped its investigation into Trump's handling it, but is certainly continuing to investigating just Joe Biden's handling of government documents. But the special master was still appointed in that case, and they are still looking through it. And I believe yesterday it was reported that one of Trump's attorneys might be forced to testify against Trump. The ruling was that client privilege doesn't apply there because there may be some communications that basically confess to committing some sort of crime. So that case still is very much moving along, but I mean, it's not as salacious. It's not as entertaining as, hearing the Stormy Daniels case.
Zach, political reporters across the country are playing this waiting game now, waiting for the potential indictment to drop. It could happen today. People are saying it could happen within the coming weeks. What happens next?
There's a lot of new territory that we're going to see because this is the first time that a former president has been indicted. So, typically when the Manhattan DA files charges against something, the press is treated to a perp walk. Is that going to happen in this case? I mean, it seems like Trump is going to surrender on his own volition. So usually when that happens, there's not a perp walk. But in this case, given the stakes, there might be one. Apparently, the New York Times reported yesterday that Trump is currently obsessed with one. He may even decide that one would be in his best interest because he could fundraise off of it. So we'll see. But once they do file charges, it would be he would be booked and there would be a mugshot. Now, my understanding is New York City mugshots are not automatically made public, but obviously there's a decent chance this particular one might leak.
A perp walk of a former president definitely would be unprecedented. And Zach, you and I have had many a conversation where we discuss Trump as a political contender. We discuss his base. And you've been steadfast in the opinion that if you're in Trump's base, nothing will change your mind. In fact, for many people, lawsuits and things like this, actually, they double down on their support when this happens. Do you think that an indictment will change anyone's mind here?
No. Not at all. As you've mentioned earlier, the facts of this case have largely been public for a long time. People have had the opportunity to digest this. It is nowhere near the most severe of any of the allegations that he's facing. If you're going to turn on Donald Trump, it would not be for this case.
And do you think this hurts his 2024 aspirations?
No, not at all. Again, people have already factored this in. If he is dealing with court cases while trying to run, that could certainly make the logistics of being on the campaign trail difficult. But in terms of gaining or losing supporters, I don't think it really matters.
Well, Zach, I'm sure we will talk to you again once the waiting game is over. Thank you so much.
Sounds good.